Hello, my fellow gamers. Gamer Dude back once again with some more informative gaming news. But before we begin, y'all know the routine, or at least I hope you do by now. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. So then, it would appear we have some news regarding God of War Ragnarok's future. And it's nothing to do with the future of the franchise, it's just this game in particular. And it appears that the director has left the door open for potential DLCs, but there is a catch. Now, in this video, we're going to be breaking down everything I've discovered regarding this and how it's going to affect the game and what potentially it could mean for the future of the game. So, it is definitely safe to say that the vast majority of God of War Ragnarok players have been enjoying the game quite a lot since its release. I think we all knew that it was going to be a brilliant game. But the amount of highly positive reviews has been almost overwhelming. It is the best reviewed game in years. And, you know, it's already received many nominations at the Game Awards, including the prestigious Game of the Year award, which is fantastic. And I'm sure if games still released, you know, the Platinum Editions like they did back on PS2 and PS3, God of War would have gotten a Platinum Edition. And Ragnarok would have also gotten a Platinum Edition. Just saying. But yeah, anyway, given the size of the game, it's not unreasonable to say that many people are still working their way through Kratos' latest adventure. Even if they finish the main story, there's still plenty left to do in the endgame content. Because there's no way you're going to get it all done in your first playthrough, because you can't. You know, there's some stuff that you just have to do at the end of the game. But not to worry. For those who are, you'll find no spoilers in this particular video, aside from the gameplay, of course. But, you know, if you haven't played it by now, and you're watching a video to do with the future of the game, then why are you even watching? Just saying. Play the game. You know? If you don't want spoilers, play the game. But yeah, I will feature no spoilers aside from the gameplay. Despite this, though, some are already thinking ahead to the future, not only for Ragnarok, but the franchise. And a lot of people, including myself, are wondering if there's any chance of us getting a DLC. I did a video way back when I first started this channel on the first God of War game, saying that there was a potential DLC that was hidden in plain sight. Now, I was of course wrong about this. There was no DLC except the New Game Plus. But it had the potential for it, you know, and so does Ragnarok. It has a lot of potential for a DLC, especially considering Atreus is now gone. And if the devs really don't want to make a new game, given the fact that they can't really call it Loki, because, you know, Disney would have a field day with copyright, they may decide to do a little DLC side story featuring Atreus, which would be a really cool idea. But yeah, so this was recently reported by Push Square game director Eric Williams, and he has now actually directly addressed this possibility directly. And excitingly, the answer isn't actually a no. So I'm going to say this, like, you should really take it with a grain of salt. And you probably shouldn't get too hyped. He goes on ahead to say this. I don't know, man. God of War Ragnarok is big. I think we put everything we had into it, so I wouldn't count on it. I mean, it's not exactly a no. You know, he's not exactly saying no, there's nothing coming in the future. But, you know, he could be trying to throw us all off. given the fact that the game, when you finish it, doesn't have a New Game Plus, we can guarantee that New Game Plus is coming, given that in the original God of War we had to wait a month or two, maybe 3 months before New Game Plus was actually added. I remember doing a countdown video to the New Game Plus on that, actually. But anyway, it's worth keeping in mind here that God of War 2018, as I mentioned, did not get any story DLC. So there's no like tradition to maintain in terms of story DLC. Like take the Arkham games for example. In Arkham Asylum you had that little Joker DLC. Arkham City you had the Harley Quinn DLC with Robin, and then you had the Catwoman DLC. Arkham Knight you had the Batgirl DLC with Mr. Freeze. You had another Catwoman DLC, etc., etc. So unlike those games, there's really no tradition to uphold in the God of War series when it comes to DLC, especially when it comes to the original games. There was no DLC for those games because they were pre-DLC. It all came as one, but still, you get my point. But it's not to say that we couldn't get some minor additions, like I said, New Game Plus, some new gameplay features, maybe some new cosmetics for Kratos. We'll just have to stay tuned and see if anything is announced. Now, the second part of this video I would like to discuss goes on to the God of War Ragnarok director actually wanting to do a Castlevania instead of a DLC to God of War Ragnarok. Now, the development director of God of War Ragnarok had this to say. With God of War Ragnarok development done and dusted, he said he would love to work with the Castlevania IP if given the chance. And this is potentially the catch I was talking about in the first half of this video. So I'm going to go into this and break this down a little bit as well. Since there was no post-launch DLC or expansions for the original God of War 2018 game, it's safe to assume that this would also be the case with the sequel, God of War Ragnarok, not counting New Game Plus, of course. Recently, director Eric Williams appeared to express very little interest in adding anything else to the game, considering how big it already is and how much time they'd already sunk into it. However, this does mean he is free to now work on something different entirely, or continue with the franchise with Atreus. They just, like I said, have to call it something other than Loki, considering Disney owns the rights to the name Loki, and they would have a field day with the copyright issues. Not sure how they got away with calling him Loki in this game. Maybe Disney allowed them to use the name for these two specific games, but they won't allow them to use the actual IP name of Loki for a game title. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with that. But yeah, Disney would have a field day suing the crap out of them for calling it just Loki. So, moving on. While Castlevania did receive a popular Netflix series with a sequel TV show in development as well, the series is actually overdue for a new game, according to the fan base. I mean, I never played it personally, so I'm not going to be biased. I'm just reading off what I found and going off what I found in terms of what the developers and directors have said. But anyway, not counting spin-offs or re-releases, the last entry into the Castlevania series was Lords of Shadows 2, and that was way back in 2014. So you can imagine a lot of fans they're really clamoring for a sequel, and usually game developers, they bring out one big AAA title every 5 years or so. Except Rockstar Games, because they're just too busy butt-fucking GTA 5. But I digress. Anyway, considering Konami has also outsourced its new Silent Hill games to third parties, such as Bloober Team for the Silent Hill 2 remake, it's approaching another studio to make a new Castlevania isn't out of the realm of possibilities. In fact, it already did that for the aforementioned Lord of Shadows 2 as its predecessor. Those games were developed by a Spanish studio, Mercury Steam. which went on to make Metroid Dread for the Nintendo. Now, Williams made some more comments during a guest appearance on Kinda Funny's Spoilercast about God of War Ragnarok. He was asked about any potential DLC for the game and future additions to the game, and he had this to say. That game is so big. We put everything we had into it, so I wouldn't count on it. So it's the same quote that I read in the first half of the video, but just, he said it a little bit differently. Now, the hosts of the Kinda Funny Spoilercast joked about Williams resting by playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Williams responded with, "I don't know what I'm doing next, but if somebody gets me that Castlevania license, I would love to make it." I mean, you could argue that Santa Monica would make a good fit for Castlevania, considering its work on the God of War series, specifically the original Greek-style God of War games, which Lord of Shadows drew clear inspiration from for its combat. Now, that being said, Santa Monica sounds like it's already plenty busy with multiple new projects. Plus, there's really no telling how likely a Konami partnership is going to be, considering Santa Monica is a first-party studio, and it's now a Sony studio, considering Sony recently bought them. So, any Castlevania project it makes would be PlayStation exclusive, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that's all I could dig up regarding this. What do you guys think? Do you guys want to see some DLC for God of War Ragnarok? The first game didn't receive it, but it didn't really need it. I think the first one left it tied up in a nice little bow for this particular sequel. But this game, it leaves a gap, right at the end. It's just like, oh, Kratos lived and cut to credits. Okay, well, what do I do now? It left a lot to be explored. It left a lot to be done, especially that ending line. That there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot to rebuild, and it's like, well, what's left to rebuild? Once you've 100% at all the realms, what do we do then? Where does the rebuilding start? Do we start rebuilding? How do we start rebuilding? Is 100% in the game the rebuilding you were talking about? That can't be it. There's got to be something behind it, there's got to be something extra. So like I said earlier, whether he was just throwing us off by saying there's nothing new coming, I wouldn't expect it, I don't know. But I can definitely assure you that New Game Plus will come to the game. It came to the first one, so there's no doubt it will come to this one, because everybody loves revisiting a game in New Game Plus. No matter how long it takes for New Game Plus to be added, everybody loves revisiting it because you get to keep all your perks, all your gear, all your equipment, all your armor, and everybody loves that, not having to start from scratch with that puny little amount of health that you get at the start of the game. Everybody loves just obliterating the early enemies with all the super high-powered gear when they're super low level. But I really think there is some potential, so get a discussion going in the comments. I will join you there. Let me know what you think about it. So that's about it for this video then. I do apologize. All I've done lately is videos around God of War, but it is the big news lately. It's the most recent game to come out. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's playing it. It's all over the internet. It's the big thing, it's the big hype, but I think I've just overhyped it and done too much of it. So I'm going to be moving on in the next few weeks to some more videos. There's plenty of news happening in the gaming world. Christmas is coming up, so who knows, maybe I'll get a new game to play and bring to the channel. And obviously I'll be uploading some separate videos here and there and doing some live streams here and there as well. So stay tuned, because I am not going anywhere. I was gone for a while, but I am back, and not to worry, I'm never leaving again. And it really does mean a lot to me for all of you to continue viewing my content. All the new subscribers, all the returning viewers, just coming back and welcoming me back really does mean a lot to me. So thank you guys. It is all down to you that I do this, my community. So thank you all so much. So yeah, that being said then, this has been Gamer Dude. Happy gaming, and I will catch you all in the next one, guys.